Good evening, everybody. Welcome to meeting number 5 of the Administration, Fire, and Finance Committee meeting. I am your chair, Jason Trombetta. Due to the efforts of COVID-19 to protect all individuals, council chambers will not be open to the public to extend standing in committee council meetings. The public may submit comments of the matter that are for the agenda to Jay Shimmy at West Lincoln before 4:30. Comments submitted will be considered for the public and information to be read into the public record. This meeting is live streamed and will be recorded and will be available on the township's website following the meeting. Stand on to our land acknowledgement statement. The Township of West Lincoln, being a part of the Niagara region, is situated on treaty land. The land is steeped in rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattaway-Wendoronk, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in the Niagara region today. The Township of West Lincoln, as a part of the regional municipality of Niagara, stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting wise stewardships of the land on which we live. Dear members of committee, any change in orders of items on the agenda? And seeing none, any disclosures of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest? Seeing none. There are no appointments. Just turn to our IT department. Kevin, anybody here to request any items on the agenda?
Not seeing any, Councillor.
Thank you very much. So move on to consent agenda items, members of council. So item 32-22, the recommendation, the Administration, Fire, and Finance Committee hereby approve the following consent agenda items. Items 1, 2, 3 are hereby received for informations with the exceptions of, and number 1, information report T12 2022, financial update as of April 30th, 2022. Information report WFLD 06 2022, a monthly update April 2022. And information report CAO 02 2022, disconnecting from work policy. I need a mover for this. I see Councillor Bradrick, seconded by Councillor Ganan. Anybody want to pull anything? Mr. Mayor?
I just want to ask a question under the fire, so you can just pull it quickly and,
okay,
and
yeah.
then get it.
So I need Mr. Mayor. So on number 1 and 3, all those in favor of 1 and 3, and that carries. As number 2, I need a seconder. Councillor Riley, Mr. Mayor, floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. And I just wanted to ask the chief. Chief, going back a couple of years, we had. I just wanted your thoughts and update on some of the arson that we experienced early on in the term. Does that seem to be somewhat abated?
Excuse me. Through you, Chair, to Mayor Bilsma. Arsons aren't like they used to be. Let's put it that way. We did have a wrath of them a number of years ago. They have somewhat quiet down. Not really. We haven't had an overabundance of suspicious fires in the last 6, 8, 10 months.
I mean, there's probably always the dumpster fires, which is largely kind of a different type than the ones that are the quote unquote community standards cleaners.
Yeah, fair enough. No, and we haven't really had a whole lot of them. I mean, weather's starting to turn. Kids are getting outside a little bit more, running around. So we haven't seen fires as much as we've seen accidents.
Yeah, okay.
A fair number of motor vehicle accidents in the last 6, 8, 10 months. A little bit above normal than what we've normally had, but fires not so much.
Okay, no, I just wanted to hear about that. I think that's perhaps some progress and public announcements and people kind of hopefully maturing a little bit. So thank you, Chief. No further.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of committee, that was moved and seconded by moved by Mr. Mayor, seconded by Councillor Riley. All those in favor of number 2, and that's carried. Moving on to communications, item A 33-22. Anita Philpott, Secretary Treasurer of the West Niagara Agricultural Society, in 2022 West Niagara Fair be designated as a community festival in order to obtain a special events permit from the Ontario Alcohol and Gaming Commission. The recommendation that the correspondence from Anita Philpott, Secretary-Treasurer of the West Lincoln Niagara Agricultural Society, dated April 28, 2022, requesting that the 2022 West Niagara Fair be designated as a community festival in order to obtaining special events permits from the Ontario Alcohol and Gaming Commission be received, and that Council of the Corporation, the Township of West Lincoln, hereby designate the 2022 West Niagara Fair as the community festival of municipal significance in accordance with the Liquor License Act of Ontario and Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, which festival is to be held from Friday, September 9th to and including Sunday, September 11th, 2022 at the West Niagara Agricultural Centre, 7402 Mud Street in Grassy. Need a mover for that? Councillor Ganand, seconded by Councillor Riley. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. Moving on to staff reports, A34-22, Director of Legislative Services Clerk Joanne Shimmy, Recommendation Report C02-2022, Restricted Acts of Council, Lame Duck Periods. The period 1 from August 19th, 2022 and to October 24th, 2022, and period 2 from October 24th, 2022 to November 14th, 2022, and that the recommendation report CO2-2022 regarding restricted acts of council, lame duck periods, period 1 from August 19th, 2022 and October 24th, 2022, and the period 2 from October 24th, 2022 to November 14th, 2022, dated May 16th, 2022, be received, that notwithstanding the provisions of the township's tendering and purchasing policy, delegation of powers, and duty policy, council adopt the attached draft bylaw, which delegates authority to the chief administrative officer for a specific time period as outlined in section 275 of the Municipal Act. I need a mover for that. Mr. Mayor, and seconded by Councillor Yonker. Any comments or questions on the? I see Councillor Rayner, then I have Councillor Bradwick, and then followed by Councillor Yonker. So, Councillor Rayner.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Chair, you read recommendation number 1 very well. I thought maybe you should try it again, see if you can mess it up.
It was a bit of a tongue twister. Thanks, Councillor. Was that your only question?
That's it. You did very well. That was a real tongue twister, and you went through it without a problem.
Thank you for the 10 seconds I lost of my life. Thank you. Councillor Bradwick.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the clerk, Madam Shime. I have a question in regards to the delegation of powers to the CAO. I know that in the report or in the bylaw it mentions that if the council can still appoint powers to an individual. I just wondered about the plan of action if the CAO was unable to fulfill her duties and how that would play out. Is there an order of protocol already existing within the township of how that would look? I don't know if that's a question for you or for the CAO herself.
Madam CAO.
Thank you. Through you, Chair Trombetta, to Councillor Bradwick. I'm sure that our clerk will clarify this if I don't answer correctly, but anytime I'm not able to attend my duties, there's always an acting CAO put in place, and that's why we actually send out an official document to put that through to the person. However, it's not a very long period of time, and I don't anticipate. Actually, there could be a time where I could be on holiday, and let's hope so. But this is a really very standard process when we're moving into this period of election to make sure that there is an ability to keep the organization going, and then we always report if anything were to happen. In my past experience, then the information is always reported about what activity took place to make sure that everything is very transparent and accountable. Thanks.
Thank you for your answer. Through the chair and back to you, CAO. Just a clarification. I understand, how easy it is to delegate off authority when one is able to do so. However, what would be the protocol if you were incapable of passing on those duties? Is there already an existing procedure that happens within the township or would happen if you were incapable of doing so?
Oh, I see. Sorry, through you, Chair Trombetta, to Councillor Bradwick. So this is you're describing a very hopefully small percentage point.
I'm thinking you won the lottery or something and you just skipped town.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, I think actually we'd have to let me think about that for a minute, please, if that's all right. And in the meantime, maybe our clerk has an answer that's faster than what I'm contemplating.
I mean, I guess even without the lame duck period, I would assume one would have a plan in the event of that situation.
Well, what I can say is that there are senior management groups that have clearly laid out in their job descriptions and their newly prepared job descriptions that they are expected to fill in for the CAO in their absence. And so this is a very professional group, and they would figure out around their own schedules and pressures to figure out who would be the most appropriate person, probably rotate it as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Braddock. I seen Madam Clerk turned her camera on. Would you like to step in there, Madam Clerk, to maybe, or not?
No, I think that answered it very
okay.
well. If it did come down to that, I think it would probably be a discussion among the senior managers who could take on the responsibility of acting CAO if the CAO wasn't available to put that person in place. So I think it would be a discussion among the 5 of the other directors.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Councillor Yonker, and I did see the mayor's hand. Is that correct? Okay, Councillor Yonker.
Yeah, I just thought I would share a little bit of a, like Councillor Reiner, waste a bit of your time and just make note of the lame duck period. So, well, yeah, just wondering who they're comparing ducks. Like, are we being compared to ducks as councillors or whatever? When I read that, I just found that a little funny, but it does make sense. I understand what it is now, but first when I'm reading this, like lame duck period, like who's the ducks? But yes, it's just I guess in between when we get voted in, whatever happens and stuff like that. So it's just kind of a funny term, but
as long as you're not going to show pictures of ducks for like with our faces on it when those about lagoons. So, anyways, Mr. Mayor, and then I saw Councillor Reiner.
Yeah, thank you. And lame duck is an accepted term. It's as funny as it sounds, as daffy as it sounds. But anyways, I was also going to just add that I understand that like in the Municipal Act and legislatively, the clerk actually wields a lot of power, substantial to run the corporation almost as an individual, because it's a statutory requirement for municipalities to have a clerk, even more so than a CAO. And so there is a sense in which when we have those kind of elections in boards where there's a chair elected, often that's done, like, so the MPC in my experience was done several times. Every general meeting starts with, annual general meeting starts with the clerk chair presiding over the chair until the chair for the particular meeting and usually for the year is elected. And so their first act is to kind of be that ad hoc chair. So the clerk does have a lot of powers. I'm sure that that's. I just wanted to get that on the record as well. And we have an able and capable clerk.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Reiner, did you have your hand up or no?
Yeah, further to Councillor Yonker, I think initially they wanted to call it Donald, but Disney had a patent on it, so they had to go to Lane.
There goes another 10 seconds of your time, Mr. Chair.
I'm seeing that tonight, Mr. Mayor. Moving on to item A. Oh, sorry. All those in favor of this recommendation? And that's fully supported. Moving on to item A3522, Director of Legislation Service Clerk Joanne Shime, Recommendation Report C03-22, the inaugural meeting of Council Procedural Bylaw Amendment. The recommendation report number C03-22 regarding inaugural meeting of Council Procedural Bylaw Amendment dated May 16, 2022 be received, and that section 2.1 of the inaugural meeting of the Township of West Lincoln Procedural Bylaw 2013-58 as amended be further amended to set a date, time, and location for the inaugural meeting of council as provided in Schedule A to this report, and that the 2022 inaugural meeting of council be held on Monday, November 21st, 2022 at the West Lincoln Community Center, commencing at 7 p.m. I need a mover for that. Councillor Yonker, seconded by Councillor Riley. Any comments or questions Councillor Rayner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through to the clerk. Madam Clerk, what's the capacity right now of the council chambers?
The capacity, through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Rayner, the capacity of the council chambers is 69, which includes the addition of the committee room, which is now part of the council chambers, the former committee room.
Okay, I'm bringing this up because as the one who's gone through it the most, twice as much as just about everybody, 4 times as much as one. I've always liked it in the council chambers because that's, to me, is where it all happens. That's where everything takes place, and that's what it's all about. It's not about having it at the church. It's not about having it at the West Lincoln Community Disease Transmission Center. It's about having it at the council chambers. So it's just like graduating from university. You have a certain number of tickets for people to attend to see you graduate. I see no difference in this as a convocation in the sense that we could limit 3 or 4 individuals per person elected. 7 times 4 is still 28. 5 times 7 is 35. You can go to 69. We've got lots of room for other things. It could still happen in the council chambers because, to me, that's where it all happens. That's where all the action and all the decision-making of this township exists for the 4-year period. And to me, that's where it should be initiated and sworn in. And that's the beginning of the 4-year term, and it's in the proper place to start for the 4-year term. So to me, I have difficulty having it anywhere else. Just wondering if anybody else had any comments. And it has been, for the longest time, done in the council chambers. It's only recently that it changed to the church, and then I think two different churches. But before that, it was always in the council chambers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rayner. I'm going to move on to the CAO, then I got Councillor Riley, and then I have Mr. Mayor. Go ahead, Madam CAO.
Thank you. Through you, Chair Trombetta, to Councillor Rayner. Just a point of clarification in terms of what our clerk has said in terms of capacity. That's current ultimate capacity right now. And with a COVID lens on, there's a potential, as they say, that there could be more variants and so forth. And certainly the West Lincoln Community Center, as everyone else refers to it as, has a lot more space to be able to handle more. However, I will also say to you too, sir, that I agree that the council chambers would be an ideal spot, but I think we have to consider the actual space capacity.
Thank you, Madam CAO. Councillor Riley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess just in response to Councillor Rayner's comments there, if our council chambers was possibly bigger and able to accommodate more people, I don't think that'd be a problem. I think the other thing that we've noticed before is, if I remember correctly, I think we were given, and I don't know, was it 10 invitations ourselves? But if I'm not mistaken, I think members of the public can attend as well. And I don't know how accessible that actually is nowadays. And I think, if anything, we have this big, beautiful, large community center, township asset. We have a committee devoted just to that as well. So I don't think there's any council business that's lost by any means by having the inauguration ceremony there. If anything, it's great to see it in a township asset than having to, I guess, kind of infringe or impose on another organization or building that's not township owned. If anything, I think the facility itself would be more than accommodative. I just remember accommodating. I just remember, it's a long time ago, 4 years ago, but I think we were over 70 people, if I'm not mistaken. It was quite a full room there. And so I think, not knowing who's coming in and who's going out and what those numbers are, I think we can't wait to after the election to decide that. I think we have to plan ahead. It also has a lot more accessibility in terms of washrooms, vending machines, other things there that make things a little bit easier and smoother. And so I understand the councillors' comments and nostalgia to the way how things used to be done. I certainly will embrace the future and embrace having the inauguration at the community center personally.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I have nothing further to add, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other members of committee? No? I see where Councilor Rayner's coming from. If this was a bigger facility, yeah, I think it's fitting that, we would have it in here. Why not? But, there's two members of council members that have real big families, and how do you say no to certain members of their family to come where they can't fit capacity, especially when it comes to a big family and parents and, mayors and all the other people we do invite. So we do need a facility that's accommodating to all people that are invited from when we do the inauguration, and that's also staff that has to go there, and any performers or music or whatever that's there. But I think, like I said, if the council chamber is big enough, Councilor Rayner is correct. The fitting place would be, but fortunately, it's only 69 people, and that includes the members that are sworn in and all staff. That really dwindles the number down immensely. And again, there's two members on this committee that have big families. So a bigger place, it's obviously better for everybody. So, Councilor Rayner?
Yeah, just for your personal information, Mr. Chair, when your mother was mayor, all three were done in the council chambers.
Yep. But it was a long time ago. Maybe Smithville was just a little bit smaller. So
I think your mom would be a little mad at you right now. But anyways,
all right, it's okay. That's fine. She'll let me know. That's for sure.
Oh, she will.
Anyways,
Mr. Chair, is that the first time your mom has disagreed with you?
No, never before. So all right, let's move on tonight. A lot of things. Yep. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Oh, I was just going to mention, don't forget to take the vote. That's all.
Oh yeah, I'm going to.
Yeah.
All those in favor. And that carries. Whew. Moving on. Item 36-22. Fire Chief, CEMC, Dennis Fisher, Recommendation Report, WFLD 07-2022, New Fire Station Number 2, Tender Report. The Recommendation Report, WFLD 07-22, New Fire Station Number 2, Tender Report dated May 16, 2022, be accepted, and that the tender be awarded to Nikon Construction in the amount of $3,456,590, excluding HST, and that council approve a total budget of $3,950,000 for the replacement of Fire Station Number 2, and that council approve a budget amendment BA 2022-04 in the amount of $1,250,000 as outlined in this report, and that a bylaw be adopted to authorize a mayor and clerk to sign an agreement with Nikon Construction for the construction of the new Fire Station 2 in the amount of $3,456,590, excluding HST. I need a mover for that, Mr. Mayor. Seconded by Councilor Bradrick. Comments or questions? Okay, I see all the hands I thought I saw. Let me just go. I see Councilor Yonker first, Mr. Mayor second, then Councilor Rayner, then Councilor Ganant. So, and then Councilor Riley. So, started off, Councilor Yonker.
Yeah, just was going to ask you through you, Mr. Chair, to the fire chief, just so the public knows too that when is this supposed to start? The build's supposed to start, and just so the public does know that there will be the fire station that's existing there will be functioning as they build this one around that, correct? Just
through you, Chair Trombetta, to Councillor Yonker. Ongoing on council approval, which will be next week, if council decides to approve it. There will be a groundbreaking ceremony somewhere in around the first week or two of June. And then depending on Nikon and their schedule, but I'm looking hopefully the end of June to break ground, if all goes well. That being said, on your other question, as far as the station being fully operational, yes, when we sat with all the pre-qualified contractors for a site meeting, it was made very clear from me to them that communication is the utmost because it is still an active fire hall and they have to main access in and out. So yes, it will be fully accessible.
thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Yonker. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, so I mean, we can get into a whole lot of a discussion. We understand that we've been pressured by the economic situation we find ourselves with, building costs, steel costs, and the like rising. I think we understand intuitively that this was, how would you say, more than desired, but under the circumstances, we recognize that there's no time like the present to get this project underway and lock in a price. And from my communications inside the trades, just my dialogues with, I'm in regular contact with general contractors and builders and cabinet makers and such. The economy continues to kind of race ahead. And I think that the sooner we get this thing started, the more then we know the price that it's going to be. If we dilly dally, it's only going to get more expensive. And I'm very much anxious to get this the ball rolling on this. And I wish the chief all success in this endeavor. I know ultimately he has sweated great gobs over this, trying to make sure that it's something that's presentable to council, ultimately to the taxpayers. It's a responsible use of money, and I think in terms of the general population, we're all feeling it. We're feeling it at the pumps. We're feeling it in our own construction costs of our own homes or sheds or decks or whatever we're doing, and so this is kind of the current reality. It's beyond our control. And so the sooner we get a shovel in the ground, I'm glad to hear that the beginning of June, if we approve this tonight, the beginning of June is such a time, and I'll be delighted to turn over some sod. So thank you, Chief, for your work on this, and for the staff as a whole, Madam Treasurer and Madam CAO, working to get to make the best of a bad situation, to make it as least painful for our taxpayers as we can. So that's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Rayner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This has become a very important thing to me. I'm the only councillor that's sitting at the council chambers that has been involved in both fire departments, Station 1 and Station 2. And it's certainly nice now to see it coming out to Station 2. Since first elected in 2003, this has been my goal, and it's always been on the back burner. And finally, 19 years later, it's coming. So I'm so glad it is. But I have some questions for the fire chief through the chair. Chief, this building obviously is extremely important. It's got a long future, hopefully, to it, but it's got to have a practical end to it also, that we've looked at all the ands, buts, or ors involved in the design and the ability of this building to be efficient. What have you done with regards to all the people who are involved in Station 2 in order to keep them up to speed on the development of this building?
Through you, Chair Trombetta, to Councillor Rayner. They have sat on a fire hall committee. So there was a number of gentlemen that sat on the committee right from the start. And then over the past, year and a half, the preliminary drawings came out. I can tell you that every member of Station 2 has looked at the preliminary drawings and have looked at the drawings to date. They've made comments, made some suggestions. We tweaked it a little bit back 4 or 5 months ago. And then the drawings that you have seen last are the final drawings as of today. So they have been involved, all 16 of them have all seen drawings and have kept up to speed on how things are going and where they're at.
All right, thank you. So everybody's been involved from the beginning. Everybody's had an opportunity to participate, and through the two individuals that represent the station, they've gone through you to make all the necessary changes. And to the best of your knowledge, everybody that's involved in that station now is pleased with the final result?
100%.
Okay, has there been at any time during the discussion about this building, which is going to be almost $4 million, has there been any discussion with any members of the fire department with regards to the cost of this and the possibility of not doing it and instead investing a part of that money in the rehabilitation of that station?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Rayner. I have not heard any comments from any of my guys out at Station 2 in regards to them saying that. Certainly not to me anyway.
Okay, so as far as you know, you've got 100% support from the members who utilize that Station 2, that everybody's in agreement that the replacement of that building is now time. And we've got 100% support that the direction and the layout and the plans of that building is going to be exactly what they were hoping it would be.
Through you, Councillor Trombetta, to Councillor Rayner. That's correct. Actually, the guys are so excited that hopefully this moves forward and they actually see a shovel in the ground. So they're 100% in favor of it.
Thank you. That is so important to me because I don't want anything coming back afterwards. Well, we could have rehabilitated, we could have saved money, this, that, and the other, which may or may not be out there now. I want to make sure that they're supportive of the fact that it is the right decision to do. We need it. We bring it up to the standards. We've got a building that's going to be good for another 50 or 60 years, just like the age of the one that's there, and that the time to do it is now. So thank you, Chief, for all your work with that. Thank you for the communications, because myself has been involved in many rebuilds in the companies that I work for. The input of the people who actually work and do the job is so critical in order to ensure that the building you're building suits the needs and becomes to the level of efficiency that you want it when you designed it. And the only way to get that way is to have the people who actually need and use that building involved in the design of the building. So thanks again. That's a great job. It's well done. And I'm looking forward to the finished product and how pleased the guys are that they're finally, after all these years, getting a new fire hall.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Councillor Rayner, for those comments. Councillor Ganan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I have a bit of a story, too, about how long this has been coming. In fact, when the fire department started out there, I was teaching at Caister School, and many of the dads of the kids that I was currently teaching at the time or had already taught became the original volunteer firefighters out there. And that crew stayed for a great many years as time went on. It has been such a long time coming that now some of those young men are now volunteers. They're between 25 and 38 in age, and they are now some of the current volunteers at Station 2, and some of them at Station 1 as well. So it sort of demonstrates that it's almost been a generation since the origination of this project, which was a pilot project to see if it was going to work, and it has really worked and worked extremely well, but they have been waiting a very long time for a facility that really will suit their needs. So I'm very pleased, in spite of the alarming costs and the increases that have happened through really no one's fault. I'm really pleased to see it finally happening. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Ganan. Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll try to be brief as well. I just wanted to mention, like, from the correspondence I've had from some of the residents in Ward 1 who've reached out to me through social media and other mediums, I know a lot of parts of our community feel that they've not necessarily received their value for their tax dollars, and I think this beautiful facility here is a reassurance that West Lincoln is investing into all parts of its municipality. Yes, the price tag is certainly higher than I think any of us could ever imagined, even going back 2 years ago, and so I think it's the residents in that area seeing this kind of commitment, this kind of value, certainly will be a little bit more inspiring, and they'll feel a little bit more part of the community, because we know a lot of the growth tends to happen in the center part. So it's easy to support this, and I hope this kind of acts as an opportunity to, again, kind of keep the community united and ensuring that everyone's kind of getting their fair share of tax dollars.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Riley. Councillor Broderick.
Thank you, Chair. I have a quick question through you to Caitlin, as I see she is there representing the Finance Department. I read through the report, and perhaps I missed it, but I wasn't sure on how long the debenture was for. If you can give us some clarity on that.
Through you, Chair Trombetta, to Councillor Broderick. I don't have that information readily available, but I can for sure get that to you on the length of the debenture.
And the insurance and the interest rate as well, too. I don't think that that was noted in the report either.
Right.
It's more for curiosity's sake.
Sure.
And thank you very much, Caitlin. And just a second comment, Chair, if I may. Late last week, when speaking with the chief in regards to this report that was going to be coming out tonight, we had chatted briefly about staff's due diligence and continuing to watch for future funding opportunities if and when they do occur, that, with a shovel-ready project, hopes would be that something, if we were lucky enough, could come alight, and perhaps this would qualify for that. So just a little mention to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Broderick. I have a few comments. I think it's an honor for myself. I know my mother was a significant, as mayor, in the building of Fire Station 1, and to be a part of building Fire Station 2, I think it's an honor. And, I just want to commend this council for, hopefully the vote goes that, which is looking, it's going for full support of this fire station. And, it's really important to the community. It's really important to Ward 1. That's been, those guys have been out in the building. I remember when I first came on council, we invested some money. The mayor was involved in that, and Councillor Rayner was involved in that, and I'm not 100% sure if, and Councillor Ganan was involved in that, and so there's no lack of, thought for those guys that this council, that I've always sat on, how much we care, and how important the fire station, the fire guys are for this municipality, and how we all think as a council. So again, I'd like to commend this council on working hard and going through the system and getting this through. And I'd like to thank the fire chief. It's a lot of work. Probably a lot of comments from many guys on how to do this and how to do that and where the door should go and what this. So that's never easy, especially being a leader. But again, I'm just proud to say for this council and myself being a part of this today is an honor. So thank you, members of council. So I will call sorry, Caitlin, your hand's up there. Did you want to say something? Go ahead.
Thanks, Chair Trombetta. Through you to Councillor Broderick, I just wanted to provide an answer to your earlier question. So in the report, it was estimated that Adventure would be a 30-year term, and the interest rate used at the time was 4.39%, which is just based on current information available.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you, Mrs. Hall. Councillor Riley, go ahead.
One last thing, Mr. Mayor, oh my goodness, Mr. Chair. I think, as I've always been, an advocate for transparency, I think this is a really good opportunity for us to use a recorded vote to show the community that we're truly behind this. So at this time, I'm going to call for a recorded vote. Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Riley. Councillor Rayner, you had something?
Yes, Mr. Chair, through to Caitlin. Why is the interest rate so high at 4.39?
Through you, Chair Trombetta, to Councillor Rayner. So that is the current interest rate that's available through Infrastructure Ontario if we were to take on new debt today. Of course, we don't know what the interest rates are going to be in the future or when this debenture would be received, but that's the current rate as of right now.
Does it remain at that rate forever? Is it locked in for 30 years or is it flexible?
Unfortunately, it remains at that rate.
No, I'm not saying negatively because the situation's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. So locking it now at 4 and another 2 years, it may be at 8. There was another good point by Councillor Broderick with regards to the possibility of any grants or funds, but I'm sure that's already been looked into. It would be nice if there was an opportunity, but I don't know if the government was handing too much out the last little while. There's nothing that you're aware of, is there?
Nothing at this time. I will just add that there's potentially an opportunity to withdraw or use some more funds related to development charges when we do undergo an update to our DC study just because obviously when we did the DC study a couple of years ago, the fire hall was represented at a cost that's much lower than what's presented today. So
Yeah, 2.1.
yeah, so there is an opportunity there, but at the time we have not done the DC study update. So the report just reflects the information we have, but if that opportunity becomes available, we would present a budget amendment to reflect that.
Yeah, thank you. It's pretty scary to look at that. And we had that on the capital books for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years at 2.1 million. And all of a sudden it comes to the point now where we're actually going to do it. And we've just about practically doubled that amount. It's hard to believe that inflation, or whatever word you want to use to describe something like that, you would not think in the normal time period that I've been around, which is a long time, usually things don't increase in that kind of magnitude. You don't buy a house in Hamilton 30 years ago for $50,000 and it becomes $4 million next week. It's very gradual. It's only the last couple of years things have gone absolutely stupid. But anyways, it's hard to believe that we were looking at 2.1 and now we're looking at 3.9. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Rayner. Chief Fisher?
Yeah, I just want to kind of end or close by saying it's been a long couple of years getting it started, going through the planning stage and site plan and architectural design. But I can say, and I will say, I appreciate from all the guys at Station 2 and myself and Tim, certainly appreciate all the support you give fire and the support you've given towards the fire hall. Like a number of you said, it's a long time coming, but we're here now. So thanks again for the support. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief. So, Madam Clerk, Councillor Riley did call a recorded vote, so if you would be able to take up that vote if possible. Councillor Rayner, did you have something else to mention?
Yeah, I just want to make one further comment, Chief, just to back up, and the reason why, especially myself, and I know Councillor Trebet is the same way. We're amazed and fascinated at the ability, the training, the speed at which at least Station 2, because that's the one I'm within sight of. I can see practically the fire station from my place. My parents went into a bad situation where my mom had a heart attack, and I swear they were there in less than a minute. Like it's just amazing how disciplined and how well trained they are. That when there is a problem, it's very little time before they're at it, and you can't help but want to help people in that kind of occupation that they have, seeing how hard they're trying and how well they do. And if we've got anything at all to do with making their life better, making it more efficient, it's our responsibility to complement and add to what those guys are doing. And that's why this is such a pleasure to do this, because it's earned. It's not just given. I've seen it. These guys have earned it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rayner. Madam Clerk, if you would be able to take up that vote, if possible.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just give me a second. I just have to switch screens again.
That's 2 mayor comments for me tonight, but it's okay. It's not me, but Mr. Chair. It just comes with it. It just comes naturally, sitting in the seat.
Yeah. Councillor Riley?
Support.
Councillor Broderick?
Support.
Councillor Ganan?
Support.
Councillor Jonker?
Support.
Councillor Rayner?
Support.
Mayor Balsma?
And I too support.
And Chair Trombetta?
Support.
The vote is 7. It's been unanimously carried.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you, everybody. So moving on to item 37-22, Director of Finance and Treasurer Donna DeFilippis, a recommendation report T13 2022 Development Charges Interest Policy under sections 26.1 and 26.2 of the Development Charges Act. The recommendation Report T13 2022 regarding development charges interest policy under sections 26.1 and 26.2 of the Development Charges Act dated May 16, 2022 be received, and that the interest policy under sections 26.1 and 26.2 of the Development Charges Act as attached as Appendix A to the report be approved, and that 400 administration fee for payment defaults under section 26.1 of the Development Charges Act be approved, and that a bylaw 2002-115 be updated to include 400 administration fee for defaults under section 26.1 of the Development Charges Act. I need a mover for that. Councillor Bradrick, Councillor Yonker. Any comments or questions on this? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. Moving on to other business. Members of committee, any verbal updates of members of board or committees? Members of council, any other business of an informative nature anybody want to discuss? I got Councillor Ganan, and then I got Mr. Mayor.
Want Mr. Mayor to go first?
No, your hand was first. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So just a couple of things. One, a reminder that tomorrow the tree planting is happening. Remember there was a committee that came before us a while back asking for our support in this. And I saw on Facebook, actually, that they've already started planting some of those trees. But tomorrow, Councillor Riley and Mayor Bilsma and myself will be there at least to show support from this council for that work that those young people are doing. And I just wanted a quick report on the community care food drive on the weekend. Knights of Columbus were out helping, and members of Kiwanis, as well as many volunteers from community care, and then volunteers from the community at large with the kids care fundraising food drive fundraising event. Money and cash came, of course, as well as food. About 8,400 pounds of food were processed on Saturday morning, collected and weighed and then sorted and put away. Fortunately, a lot of the dates were 23, 24, 25, and so that provide some really good basic stock moving forward. I think I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our generous community once again for proving that they really do care about others. There are lots of people who are really in need of the food bank right now, and from wearing my other hat with Community Care, the board, I'm well aware that the numbers are creeping up of people who are looking for support, and so thank you for that. And I guess the third thing maybe is just a reminder that there's a provincial all candidates night that the chambers are hosting. Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Leave something for me, a nugget or a kernel.
Well, just because I wear that hat as well. So I know that the three chambers together, Niagara West Chambers, are putting this on. It is happening in Lincoln at the Great Lakes Christian High School. But anyway, 6:30 the doors open on Wednesday night. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Ganan. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, so I was going to say those two, the candidates night and the tree planting, and so thank you, Councillor Ganan, for doing that, and I knew you'd be diligent, and I'm okay with that. That's great. I did have one more thing that I wanted to say, and that was to the community and at large, all our residents and stuff. It is a long weekend coming up, and just to wish them a safe and enjoyable first long weekend, I guess, of summer. Tends to be a little bit of brain fog that happens coming out of winter hibernation, and so sometimes people can get reckless in those. So we hope and wish that everyone enjoys a safe long weekend. That's all.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other members of the committee? Yep. Okay. Perfect. Excellent. So moving on to new business. Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just I wanted to make just a brief comment, and it's not new business for tonight, but more of a notice of motion. But I've raised the issue before, and it's an ongoing discussion with respect to the Grimsby Air Park and its effect on our residents in the grassy hamlet. And there's been some work done to put forward a bit of a synopsis and a discussion of what we would like to put forward as a community of residents in Grassy to the Minister of Transportation. That's a federal jurisdiction, and municipally we've exhausted all of our abilities, and as you well know, when it comes to things like grow-ops and stuff like that, dealing with the federal government. We have such limited resources. Our bylaw can only do so much. And then they're kicked up to the federal jurisdiction. We realize that we don't really get a whole lot of support, not to open that can of worms, but this is very similar when it comes to air parks and the nuisance they create with neighbors. And there's been changes in the Grimsby Air Park, and that's affected greatly not only the residents of Grimsby around it, but unfortunately it's right on the border of our municipality and it's affecting our residents. And this is
Mr. Mayor, just for proper protocol, I think you need a seconder to put it on the table to discuss something. We do.
Okay.
Do we proceed? And I don't want to. I'd rather I can get a seconder. We can continue to talk about this.
I'll second this. I have no problem.
Okay. Yeah.
Just procedurally, we got to do it fairly for everybody, right? Okay. So Mr. Mayor introduced a new item of business, and it's the Grimsby Air Park, and it was seconded by Councillor Riley. Sorry, Mr.
That went on. I was trying to give a little bit of context. Thank you, Mr.
If you would have had it under council remarks, Mr. Mayor, I would have let you go freely. But under new business, I have to follow protocol here.
And so I appreciate that, Mr. Chair.
I need to just call the vote to introduce a new item of business, Mr. Mayor, if I can. So it was a new item for discussion. It seems that Mr. Mayor has a new item of business to discuss, and it's the Grimsby Air Park, and that was seconded by Councillor Riley. All those in favor of introducing a new item of business, that carries. Mr. Mayor, floor is yours. Sorry, I have to do it procedurally, Mr. Mayor.
And I appreciate your indulgence there for as long as you did, Mr. Chair. And I also appreciate Councillor Riley for seconding that and getting this. I only wanted to say one more thing. This is coming out of a meeting that was held with some of the residents of concern from both Grimsby and West Lincoln. Myself attended with Dean Allison, who is our MP, and he is willing to bring this right to the minister's desk. So there will be a document that will be hopefully circulated amongst council through the course of the week. It will, and I'll discuss with the CAO and the clerk about getting that properly as part of a discussion, perhaps at the council meeting. And basically what they're looking for is just kind of an endorsement or a received and endorsed type of the information that's been brought forward about the ongoing problems there, and asking the Ministry of Transportation to deal with that. So just look forward to that. That's all I wanted to say. If anybody has any questions about what's been going on there, I've tried to keep the council somewhat apprised of those issues, and especially the councillors from Ward 1. It's their jurisdiction, and we've had communications with that, and I've had phone calls with both Councillor Rayner and Councillor Trombetta as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Rayner, I saw your phone. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I've had a number of calls from constituents of that area concerned. There was some rumors that the federal government is changing the registration of those airports and allowing them to do a lot more than they were originally designed to do, which is bringing in a lot more aircraft, and it's going to be very, very annoying for all those people around. The airport is on Grimsby property, but they're going to go right over the heads of the people in West Lincoln, which is going to create an awful lot of annoyance. You can just imagine the buzz of its sound. My son doesn't live very far from there, and then when they're taking off, they circle right over his farm, and it is very loud, and it can be annoying because some of those guys are quite low. They're not even it doesn't even look like they're trying to get altitudes. It's almost like they're going straight across. So I can appreciate and respect what they're going up against. The only thing is like the mayor says, this is like the grow up all over again. I mean, the rules then were they were allowed and registered to grow from the federal government, but the smell was not allowed to leave the property. And if you could, you called Health Canada and they would prevent it from happening. Well, that turned out to be an absolute complete joke. And this is almost heading in the same direction, where they're just going ahead and they're ignoring the constituents and their concerns. So I'm very pleased that the mayor's got a hold of Dean Allison. Unfortunately, he's the opposition. It'd be a lot better if he was on the right side, but whether the existing government is going to listen to Dean Allison is not his fault. If he can take it as high as he can go and try to get something out of it, at least we're not letting it just drop. We're trying to do something, but we're kind of against the 8 ball on this because the political parties just don't line up the way it should be if we want to get this thing really done quickly and effectively and in the best interest of the people who live here. So I'm pleased that the mayor's continuing with this. I would like to keep the people in that area updated, and I'm sure the mayor will. But I imagine this process is going to take quite a while, is it not, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Chair.
Yep, go ahead, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, you're right, Councilor Rayner, and you're more experienced than us at some of these things, and but we have enjoyed the experience of grow ups together, so we do know how that works. But it does help when at least it comes with the I guess not only the endorsement but kind of the force of an MP. And there are some things that they are required even as opposition and to deal with, and these are complaints surrounding air parks. And you've mentioned a couple of things that we have had in our discussions about a change of use and those kind of things, and so they are all part of the document that has been prepared that we're looking to endorse. So when that document comes this week, please give it a quick read. It was put together quite well by a gentleman by the name of Greg, and basically just looking for our support of that document. Grimsby's going to do likewise, 2D Allison, and so it'll be signed by residents, it'll be signed by the two councils, and carry the weight of both councils, because I've worked very closely with Mayor Jordan from Grimsby on the file as well, and being that it's their jurisdiction, in terms of the municipality, and they're kind of at their wits' end too. There was an appeal, there was a ruling, Grimsby fought it, went to OLT, they lost, they appealed, they lost again. And so we've kind of exhausted everything municipally.
Councilor Rayner.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, to the mayor. If I'm not mistaken on this whole thing started with the people who now own the airport approached the federal government to say that they want to change what the initial purpose of this airport was into something that they want to make it into, which is much larger, cargo, transportation, all the rest of the stuff. And the government approved it. And this is where the fighting is all about now. So we're going against what was applied and what the government approved. And now we've got to ask the government to retract. And that's where the real hard part is, because they initially said, yeah, this application makes sense. And I believe there was 3 airports that were approved in this area, was it not? Am I not correct on that?
Mr. Chair?
Yep, go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
I don't believe that's correct. I not that you're completely wrong, but I don't believe that that's necessarily correct. But the documentation will provide a lot of clarity, because you are correct in assuming that there's been some zone changes, and that's why it went to the OLT. But that was there. It's complex, so have a read at the document when it comes forward, and that's all I can tell you at this point. Unfortunately,
it's just in the discussions I've had with other people that have been involved in this. There's more than just this airport involved. That's what I heard.
That may be true. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mayor. Councilor Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just about everything I was going to say has already been covered. I as well as heard from a couple of residents, actually a little while ago, and haven't heard from them recently. So I'm glad to see this is back. I'm glad to hear that we're already ahead of it. I'm kind of wondering through you, Mr. Chair, to and maybe our clerk, if maybe we should. We're hearing from the mayor that there's going to be some kind of document delivered this week, but could we put in a proactive measure, put a placeholder, so if it doesn't arrive till Monday, it can still be on the agenda, or do we need to? Are we pretty confident this is going to arrive? I'd just like to be as efficient and proactive as possible so that we can come out swinging Monday and hopefully have some, whatever weight we have, hopefully have some weight behind it. Because I think it's certainly something we don't want to let slide another month or so. If we can have that voice heard sooner, I think that's important. I think the other comment I was going to make was, Mr. Mayor, you made a comment there. I just want to know if you wanted to clarify for the record that you said you and Councilor Rayner enjoyed the grow ops. I wasn't sure what side of the enjoyment level that you guys were enjoying. Considering you said
let that one go.
That was the other part. But otherwise, I wasn't sure if we could put a placeholder or if you're pretty confident it'll be in before Thursday, because usually everything.
I'm very confident because we put together quite an action plan, so I'm confident, but by Friday, when you receive your agendas, there will be either the placeholder will be put in. I'll work with the Madam Clerk and Madam CAO.
Okay, did you get that, Councillor Riley?
I did, yeah. And,
Okay.
and Councillor Ganan just reminded me, I guess our next meeting's not till Tuesday, but I realized
Sorry,
Monday's
and
a
my
holiday.
apologies.
Yeah, I said Monday as well. So anyways, that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Riley. I do have a few comments for this. I have been in the loop with the mayor and Councillor Rayner on these, and been obviously CC'd on a bunch of these emails that went by. You know, it started with a lot of mysterious planes landing at all hours of the night with no lights, and which kind of raised the issue of the residents, which they have every right to raise these issues, especially in the middle of the night, landing and so on and so forth. I have been in contact with Mr. Middleton. We have communicated on multiple occasions, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for dealing with and getting Dean Allison on board with this and assisting with the residents with this issue, because it is a really important issue of some of the mysterious things that are happening on those hours. You know, I hope, you know, again, it does start with the council to kind of go to that next level to get the federal leaders on board to assist us in this issue. You know, again, the council really doesn't have say on how NAV Canada operates these little airports. I think they all follow under those jurisdictions, I guess, is because we see them popping up more and more these days, and you know, but the right steps is to get in touch with our federal leaders and you know, have some motions forward brought to them, and then we can see an outcome come this and kind of, you know, see what's happening there and kind of, you know, relieve some stress, ease some stress that some of the residents are taking. Now, Mr. Mayor, I know in the email correspondence, I think they had the impression that you're bringing forward a motion for this. I wasn't sure if that's still on the table for that. I don't know if you want to, something you want to
So the motion
with
would just simply to receive the information and endorse. Like, so I'm going to work with the clerk, but it's one of those where they're basically looking for our endorsement to carry the weight of our municipality along with the voices of our residents, as well as the voices of Grimsby residents and the Grimsby Council. So I'm in communication with our compatriot across the ward, like the ward across, which is Councillor Dave Sharp of Grimsby. So I've been in communications with him as well, and he's well apprised of the whole situation as well. So, but he couldn't attend the meeting with MP Allison on it was Friday morning at 11 o'clock.
Okay. All right. So it's just a verbal update that the motion that you're bringing forward to members of committee and and council. No, just it's a verbal verbal update this evening. Okay.
I'm happy with that. Yes.
Okay. Seeing nothing else, members of committee, there are no confidential matters. So I will adjourn the meeting, and we'll head into public works, the second portion of tonight's meeting. So I'll adjourn this meeting at 7:32. Then we'll head back to the public works agenda. Thank you, everybody.
Hello, welcome to the Township of West Lincoln Public Works Recreation Arena Committee, meeting number 4. I am your chair, Councillor Jonker. Due to efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19 and to protect all individuals, the council chamber will not be open to the public to attend standing committee and council meetings until further notice. The public may submit comments for matters that are on the agenda to Jay Shumay at westlincoln.ca before 4:30 p.m. on the day of the meeting. Comments submitted will be considered as public information and read into public record. The meeting will be recorded and available on the township's website following the meeting. We'll go on to the land acknowledgement statement. The Township of West Lincoln, being part of Niagara region, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the this is always fun. Hattawadanak, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that work and live in Niagara today. The Township of West Lincoln, as part of the regional municipality of Niagara, stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the land on which we live. Are there any change in order of items on the agenda? Seeing none, any disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflicts of interest? Seeing none, there are no appointments or presentations. IT, is there anyone that is any public who wishes to comment? None?
There's none.
Okay. And the clerk, we have not received any emails or correspondence from members of public.
No, we have not, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll move on to 7.1, consent item agendas. Consent items. And they are that the Public Works Recreation Arena Committee hereby approves the following consent items. They are 1, West Lincoln Board Public Meeting minutes of February 11, 2022, as well as their minutes from March 11th, 2022, and their minutes from April 8th to 2022. Anything that needs to be pulled?
I'll move that, Mr.
Or
Chair.
all in? Thank you, Councillor Riley. Seconder? See Mayor, thank you, Mayor Vilsma. All those in favor?
Support.
And that carries. Moving on to communication, and there is no communication. We will move on to staff reports. There are 2 staff reports for tonight. And they are 9.1 is item PW-17-22, Coordinator of Engineering Services, Jennifer Bernard, and Director of Public Works and Recreation, Mike DiPaolo, regarding recommendation report PW-09-20. Amendment to Schedule P of Bylaw 98/2000, stop sign locations. And the recommendations are 1, that the recommendation report PW-09-2022 regarding amendment to Schedule P of Bylaw 89/2000, stop sign locations dated May 16th, 2022 be received, and 2, that council pass a bylaw to amend Schedule P of Bylaw 89/2000 as outlined in this report. Can I get a mover for that? I see Councillor Ganan and Mayor Bilsma, thank you. As a seconder, any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries, thank you. Moving on to 9.2, item PW-18-20. That information report PW-10-2020 regarding the wind project tree replacement program update dated May 16, 2022 be received for information. Can I get a mover for that?
I'll support that.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Trombetta. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries.
Sorry, Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
did you want to make a comment there,
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor?
I just
Okay, sorry.
hesitated. If I could, and I'll be quite quick. This went really quick. The vote's already kind of been taken, but I want to make sure that we acknowledge that this was no small task. This is something that we have worked on for well more than this term and towards the end of the term. And when I had the opportunity to visit Madam CAO in her office, and you're all well know, it sat on the corner of her whiteboard for many, and it was always there front and center to get this wrapped up. And I had, as probably all you also had, many interactions with community members because it was kind of that one last hanging small silver lining after what was very difficult journey for our municipality to that whole wind turbine process, which probably started back in 2010. And I recently had a conversation with a former councillor who was back then, and kind of we talked through that whole thing. And this kind of concludes what what it has been a very long process. And so I am very pleased. I've looked all around the municipality, and I've been being able to identify the trees that have been planted with respect to this. I'm very pleased with the quality and caliber of the trees. I've been watching them emerge. I've seen that they've all been planted on sites that represent where the trees were lost, and the abundance, the surplus of the trees that were not spoken for by residents who lost trees and made a claim for replacement trees, went on wise and stewardly places for our municipality, including some of our boulevards. As some ended up at the site of our old train station, which is kind of course, the trademark of our town and somewhat representative of the town. Some of them ended up at the Leisureplex. And so they were, that was no small task. And I know I'd like to commend actually this Madam CAO for sticking with this, because it was a task that Bev, our CAO, inherited. And Madam CAO had to do a lot of investigative work to find, what was actually promised, and then we also had to negotiate with wind turbines. So this has been a long process. I am very grateful because I know personally that I asked often about it. So, I was doing my duty to make sure that it was wrapped up as residents were on me, and I know it was no small task. So thank you to council, to staff, and to Madam CAO for getting to the end of this. And I was just kind of writing a note, and that's why I just missed the vote, and I didn't want it to slip, so I backed up. So there you go.
Okay, thank you,
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I do see our Madam CEO has her hand up as well, so go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Thank you through you, Chair Yonker, to Mayor Bilsma. Thank you very much for the comments. I agree. This was a really tricky file, and the first step was to secure the funds through the agreement, and that took probably 18 to 20 months. But then I have to give a great deal of kudos to Ray Vachon and Mike DiPaolo, who put together the project and worked really hard with the landowners who were quite upset about the whole project. And I think that they were able to figure out a really nice path forward, securing 4 contractors and making sure that there's sort of equal distribution. And with council's approval, we're going to be doing a bit of a media project on this to share the good news. We have some landowners who are going to be very supportive as well. So it's nice to sort of close this book, I think.
Yeah, it is. Thanks for the comments there, Madam CEO. Yeah, it was exciting to see these trees going in the ground, that's for sure. So, it wasn't exciting to see the steel towers going up and such, but this is way better to see. So hopefully these trees do well and make our township a beautiful place. Well, it is a beautiful place, but just add to the beauty of it. So thanks to staff for all the hard work, and yes, correct for the directors and the public works guys for the hard work they've put into this as well. So thanks everyone. So the vote was all in favor of that. So we can move on to.
You had Councillor Rayner's hand up, Mr. Chair.
Okay, yeah, I lost him on the screen there. So go ahead. Thank you, Councillor Riley, for keeping an eye on it there for me. So go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Councillor Riley. I just wanted to say that I know it's been a long time coming, and the trees definitely needed to get back there. The only sad thing is that this turbine thing, which has meant, I believe there were 44 of them, which has meant so much flack and so much frustration to so many people, especially during the 2010 to 2014 term, when basically you were renting halls in the high school and everything else. You couldn't get enough people in. Yeah, they're up and half their lifetime is about done, and we'll see how that's going to end up and how they're going to be dismantled carefully. That's going to be a real interesting thing that's going to be seen down the road, and who's going to pay for it. But anyways, the other thing that's really disturbing to me, and I see it every time, for example, I go up Caser Center Road to my house, the beautiful 150-year-old oak trees that were taken down in order to put them up. All of us here, I'm the old man, but all of us here will never see those trees like that again. It was criminal how they were taken out. And yes, you can put really nice ones back in, but the real nice ones are nothing compared to a massive, gorgeous 150-year-old oak tree. It's nice that we're going to go there and hopefully generations from now they'll have the same thing. But what happened was a complete butcher as far as I'm concerned. And I'm glad that there was some accountability with them to replace at least the trees, but it'll never look the same. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, no other comments? I see none. Moving on to other business, item PW 19-22, other members of council, any other business items of an informative nature? And seeing that we had a meeting just before that, I'm guessing there's none for this meeting. I see a hand up. I see Councillor Ganan. Thank you for waving. There we go ahead, Councillor Ganan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I did save a couple of things related to Public Works, actually, for this meeting. So I'm glad that you recognize that. So the final report came out of the Hamilton Truck Route Master Plan today. I don't know whether anyone had a chance to look at it, but I did go through that carefully looking for any sign of Westbrook Road and was quite relieved to see that when they said that they needed to support regional economic prosperity but coexist with a high quality of life for communities, as well as the environment and public health issues, I was extremely pleased to see that they no longer are considering. We knew that, but the final report came out today, and so to see it in black and white, or to not see it, is a better way of putting that, I think was very reassuring that they actually stuck to their guns on that. And the second thing I wanted to do is sort of tie in some of the things that everybody has done with supporting our staff, and this is National Public Works Week. And so I'd like to say publicly a thank you to our staff, whether it means snow plowing roads or salting and sanding or trying to do something with those muddy roads when the rains come in the spring. Whether it's our clean drinking water or the fact that our sewers are working properly, all of the work that Public Works does, we're very supportive of and happy to have them working as well as they are. So happy National Public Works Week to Public Works staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gadan, for bringing that up, and that's what I was going to mention as well. But yeah, it is always exciting to see the spring work happening. You know, the residents have been frustrated with the condition of the roads, but yeah, you can only fix them when the seasons work for you, and the patience sometimes was wearing thin, I believe. But our Public Works has been out there as soon as they could on the gravel roads, getting the potholes removed and filled and fixed, and you're already seeing the asphalt being put on into spots where it's needed as well. So it's good to see and show appreciation to the Public Works guys. It's yeah, beautiful time to be out there on the roads, but it's also nice when they can be out there fixing the roads. So definitely, thanks for that, Councillor Ganan. Anyone else? I don't see anyone else.
Councillor Rayner. Councillor Rayner.
Councillor Rayner. Yep.
Councillor Rayner. Sorry. Go ahead,
Okay.
Councillor Rayner.
I just wanted to mention also with regards to Public Works, I've seen the truck out, the special asphalt truck that they have that does the patch ups on the curbs and everything. They've been really going to town in Ward 1, and it's amazing how much they've got done. It does a beautiful job. It's amazing how it can fix the road up as compared to just letting it go and putting a shovel in a hole. I think it's gone a long ways to save the township a lot of money on major repairs before it stopped it, before it got worse. So I just want to commend the guys out there. The gentleman, whoever's driving that truck, is going straight. When he does it, he does a beautiful job. And I watched them at my place. He was going down Casey Center Road, and they line up and they're careful on the. It was very impressive to watch. And as we say, we're hats off to all the work that the Public Works guys do, and maybe we should give them next Monday off in consideration.
We'll let the director of Public Works decide that, Councillor.
I got a question, Councillor Yonker.
Yes, go ahead there, Councillor.
Thank you. Councillor Rayner stated that the asphalt truck was patching up the curbs, but we live in Ward 1. There's not too many curbs. I think he was referring to the edge of pavement that they're doing.
The shoulder.
He said patch up of curbs. Well, we don't have too many curbs in Ward 1, so I was just trying to clarify.
The curve of the road, Councillor. It's the shoulder, okay?
That's better. Thank you.
Can't take his own medicine, eh?
Seconds of our time here. But yeah,
10 seconds of your time, man. 10 seconds of your time.
Bring it on, Jason.
Madam CAO, I did see your hand go up. Did you want to add?
Thank you. I was trying to be helpful and let you see that Councillor Rayner had his hand up.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you switched screens somehow, and I had 4 screens on my iPhone, and you took his place on me. But thank you. That's good. I appreciate it. Nope.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other new business? Seeing none. There are no confidential matters. So I declare this meeting adjourned at 7:54 according to my computer.